But the items on the agenda tonight, to approve the minutes of October 19th, 2017. And we have two decisions, one decision on 17-18-03 and continued hearing of 15-01. And after that, we have the decision to make on the town of Rowley's police station and fire station, case number 1804. And after that, we have a public hearing from Timothy Collier for a variance at 232 Motion Avenue for construction for a barn. After that, we will adjourn. So I'll call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of October 19th. We've all had a copy of that, so if we
Make a motion and we accept the,
if there's any additions or corrections. Not, hearing none, wait, there's a motion to accept the minutes.
yeah, I already did that.
You've already done it.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Case number 1803. Petition from Michael Sabatini. You want me to read the decision, or have you all,
I haven't seen the final version.
you haven't seen it, so you want me to read, I'll read it.
If you want, just give me a copy. There are a couple of things that we were interested in. And
There's $200 on that.
We had asked Tom to, when it went back and forth, to make a couple of changes, and we never saw the final from him before it went off to you guys, but he did make the changes. That's all.
Yeah, they were all incorporated.
yeah,
You're fine?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You all had a chance to read it? I have a copy.
I think this might be yours.
You can keep that
You
if
can
you'd
keep
like,
this.
but you are gonna get a copy of the signed copy.
Okay.
We can both get some copies.
Do you want your copy?
No.
Okay.
Same pen? Oop.
No, it doesn't matter. Wait,
Make a motion to accept this?
motion to accept the decision.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did he tell you what the deal is now? Was, he said post it, give it to the clerk on Monday, then there's a 20-day, appeal period. Okay. That's fine. We're good to go. You're good to go, we're good to go.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Okay.
And you got that other one?
And the other one is withdrawn.
Winter.
You got that.
Okay, you're gonna withdraw the other one?
Yes.
It is withdrawn.
I have the
Yes,
sheet,
you did.
You have the sheet?
yes.
I'm sorry, you got 20 minutes now.
No, that's fine.
You good?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank
you.
All right,
very
We
much.
appreciate
Thank
the
you.
assistance.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Have a good night.
Okay. Okay, so we need to vote on the acceptance of that. Okay, we have a request to withdraw the appeal, case number 18-01.
So moved.
Motion's been made to accept the withdrawal.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Boy, that was fast.
Let's keep going.
Same here, doesn't it?
Any adjustments to this one? Any adjustments to this one?
Yes, I made some adjustments to this.
To this one?
All right, I'm gonna read this one.
What's this one? Oh, that's the,
You made adjustments after you sent them out? Did you make, he made adjustments to the town water one too?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Case number 1804. Decision of Raleigh zoning board of appeals on the defective zoning bylaw upon petition of the town of Raleigh, W.E. town administrator on an application dated September 20th, 2017 for a special permit to construct 2 new public safety buildings. One for the town's police department at 477 Havel Street, and one for the town's fire department at 473 Havel Street. The application is requesting said permit to accommodate the placement of the new structures in a non-conforming location on the site. Public hearing was held at Raleigh Town Hall Annex Center School on October 19, 2017. Members acting on this case are Donald W. Thurston, Chairman, David Levesque, Member Donna Thibodeau, Member Robert Gould, Member and Tom Hygood, Clerk. Pursuant to public notice originally in the Town Common, a newspaper in general circulation of the Town of Raleigh, published on the 4th of October 2017, and on the 11th of October 2017, and by mail sent postage prepaid to all parties in interest as defined in Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 11, and as such, list of parties was certified by the town assessors in accordance therewith, and to the town clerk, the planning board, the board of selectmen, the board of health, conservation commission, fire department, inspector of buildings, and by being posted in a conspicuous place in the Raleigh Town Hall for not less than 14 days. The land is located in the outlying district and is part of the municipal water supply overlay district as is shown in Assessors Map 13, Lot 1. The deed is recorded in Essex Registry of Deeds, book number 6372, page 70. The applicant is requesting a special permit under section 6.1.3.1 of the Raleigh zoning bylaw, which states that in all districts except the retail district, or the business light industry district, nothing other than fences, walks, public and private utilities and utility lines, septic systems, water supplies, and driveways shall be built on any lot nearer than 50 feet to the street lines and 15 feet to other lot lines, except with permission of the Board of Appeals, which will take into consideration the alignment of existing adjacent structures. The applicant has further indicated that if relief is required under section 4.11 of the Raleigh zoning bylaws, which states that this section is intended to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the community by preserving the quality and sources of drinking water. The applicant noted that the use restrictions in 411, which would relate to the project, do not, in his opinion, meet thresholds which would require a special permit, but if the board concludes it is necessary, it is requested such relief from those restrictions as well. If the board determines that, 1, there will be no substantial change to the nature of the neighborhood in the opinion of the board, 2, that the proposed existence of the structure will not be detrimental to the district,
Thanks.
it will approve the application. Preliminary case material and discussion. At the public hearing on the 19th of October 2017, at approximately 7:10 p.m., the chairman opened the public hearing in due form and determined there was no conflict of interest by him or any other member acting in this case. The certified abutters list was reviewed and accepted, and the presence of a permit license clearance form from the town of Raleigh was also submitted and accepted. The applicant, Deborah Egan, on behalf of the town of Raleigh, was present and represented by Mr. William Murray of Places Associates, the designers of the plan and proposed building. Chairman Thurston noted letters from the Board of Health and Graham Associates on behalf of the planning board. No department member memo, see attached, had any reservation about the application. Mr. Murray proceeded to outline the plans provided. See CBA office file for plans from the Carroll Group dated September 6, 2017, and updated plans dated October 18, 2017. Job number 16-5166. Mr. Murray noted the basis of need behind this application was the new proposed public safety buildings as constructed could only be placed in the current spot in the lot given constraints created by both the lot's closeness to town ball fields and desire to keep the total land area used as compact as possible. Doing so, the front of the buildings are thereby encroaching the standard 50-foot front setback requirement by approximately 14 feet. Mr. Murray provided a plot plan, as noted above, and described the location of the buildings to be on the lot's front side, which borders Havel Street, also known as Route 133. He outlined the shape, form, placement of the buildings, discussed the relative impact of the new parking areas, access roads, and landscaping on the site, and pointed out the utilities needed and how they will be linked to the site and managed for safety, given proximity of site to the public ball fields, often filled with families and children. He noted that every effort was being made to limit visual impact to the neighborhood and showed the board architectural depictions of the buildings in the various site elevations. While it would create substantial structures on the site and encroach the setback, the board believed it did not materially create a significant element of nonconformity. After further questioning by the board, it was clear that to try to place the requested construction anywhere else on the property would create undue financial hardship on the project, necessitating far more extensive land modification, building redesign, and landscaping. When queried by the board about the municipal water supply district impacts, Mr. Murray noted in his application that while there are several types of prohibited uses which are present in the proposed project, none reach the threshold levels which would require consideration for special permitting under Raleigh zoning bylaws. The board concluded that the applicant's request for relief under section 4.11 by the bylaws did not require action by the board. After requesting any other hearing testimony from either butters or interested parties, of which there were none, and a review of all the pertinent data was completed, the board determined that there were sufficient grounds to grant a special permit. Applying the above, the board voted to draft an approval decision for the applicant as requested to complete the construction of the public safety buildings located at 473 and 477 Haverhill Street, and grant a special permit under section 6.1.3.1 for the board's vote at the November 16, 2017 meeting. Board findings. The board, after concluding a thorough review of the application for the proposed construction of a public safety building to house both the police and fire station for the town of Raleigh, with special consideration given to front setback laws where existing site parameters have created a condition such that the optimal location of the new structures creates an inclusion of 14 feet into the southern side of the 50-foot setback found in the request to not be so egregious as to prevent approval. Considering the town's desire to maintain the character of the site, the board finds the application for the construction of said public safety buildings to be not any more detrimental as a non-conforming structure or detriment to the neighborhood, and that a literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance or bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner of appellant, and that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of such ordinance or bylaw. Agreed to issue a special permit to construct the proposed structures as requested on site plans provided as part of the original application and shown in the accompanying plot plan CCBA office file previously cited, dated September 6, 2017. Therefore, the board voted to approve a special permit as requested under section 6.1.3.1, subject to the following conditions. The building setback shall be no closer than 35 feet as shown on the plan. Any changes to the plan supplied with this application resulting from the above reviews and approval or as a result of approvals from other town boards or departments must be brought before the zoning board of appeals for review and approval prior to the filing of the plan at the registry of deeds. 3. Board requires that the applicant files a copy of said decision with the registry of deeds and provides a receipt from the registry confirming such no later than 30 days from the end of the appeal period. Failure to do so will result in a request from the ZBA to the inspector of buildings to issue a cease and desist order until such time as the board receives a registry receipt requested. Failure to comply with the above provisions of this decision at any time shall be reasonable grounds for the inspector of buildings to order operation of all construction at this location to cease. Voted the 16th day of November 2017. I have a motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the bid.
I have a question. Every document that was submitted with this application, every department memo that was submitted with this application makes reference to one physical address, 477 Haverhill Street.
Mhm.
Every plan I've seen and looked at refers to 477 Haverhill Street. We now have a reference here to two physical addresses for two separate buildings.
Mhm.
We don't have anything in here in the plans that I refer to that makes reference to two physical addresses being what we're talking about. So I think we need to clarify. I see this sign-off sheet refers to two addresses.
One parcel, isn't it? One parcel.
Okay, we have here,
One class of two buildings. But with two separate items.
Mr. Dave's like,
They're not connected.
what do I wanna read here?
Well, they are
Buildings
connected.
aren't connected, are they?
They are,
No.
they
Oh,
are
there's a driveway in
connected.
between.
Not connected.
They're not connected.
Separate buildings, one lot, separate building, two different ends.
One lot.
The drawing that we have shows them connected. What is
Oh, I
that?
thought the,
Not connected.
Keep going, Tom.
What is that?
I think there's a
Couple more-
driveway in between they talked about.
Couple more
last
pages
time.
and you'll see.
Separate buildings, so.
This is the police department.
So this is the, so they changed this. What is this? What was this? Why did we have this? This
Is
is,
that the police department?
That's existing building maybe?
Yes, that's
Is
the
it
Existing,
existing.
they're tearing
And they're
down the.
addition to the
rental
existing.
building.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Just a place.
okay, but that's fine. I don't have a problem with that as much as that we now have this update. And how do we have, it suggests to me there are two lots here. Are there two lots?
No,
here?
one
What is
lot.
this? Well, how do we have two numbers for one lot?
Because
That
they're
was
two
sent.
different places,
That's who, right, this
Well,
Two
is,
Fire-
different building addresses.
two different buildings.
right, every 50 feet has a number,
Oh, okay, okay.
okay? See, well, the new fire station will be 473 Haverhill Street, and the police station will continue with a street address of 477. I would appreciate if those addresses could be incorporated into any issued permits.
Okay, well, I just think, do you think it's necessary to be concerned that all of a sudden, because all our plot plan references refer to one address? All the references I refer to one address.
There's a difference between a post office address and a lot number. Post office can call it whatever they want. It doesn't bind us, because what binds us is
The
the
plan.
assessor's plan, right?
Okay, fine. All right, that's fine.
There's often a discrepancy between the post office and what the
And
town,
the things, the
how
numbers
the
are.
town, right?
Okay, okay. Hello.
Okay? So, motion's been made.
And they accept the proposal.
Oh, has it been seconded?
It hasn't been second.
Second.
No, that's what we want to say.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We'll sign that next.
You're right.
Now we're gonna sign this next, right?
Yep. And they really get to chase us,
This one.
then they can really chase us to court. Who did that?
Can I sign this? Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
They're too high.
I'll go through the paper.
Gee, took up all the space.
I knew you wrote small.
done the other ones.
Actually,
Give me that copy.
I'm gonna give it a minute to dry.
Good idea.
I wanna make sure it dries before I go there.
Where'd that come from?
No, I found it for you.
She found it. That's up go.
Did you already know about it?
No,
No?
can't go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, when is this getting started for? 7:40,
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
You lose your pen. How did you lose your pen?
I don't know.
What's losing a pen? They supply them every week.
But they're asking. Variance requirements. There's no variance requirement. 3810 allows the variance. You want to comply with it.
Listen, you know, I saw that.
Should we take a recess?
Yeah, 10 minutes. They're getting ready to change.
We're gonna take a recess. We're gonna take a recess for 10 minutes.
It says I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Public hearing for case number 1807 for an application received from Timothy Collier seeking a variance is now open. The public hearing will proceed in an orderly fashion. I ask for cooperation in the following procedure. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to be heard after the application has been presented and the board members have asked questions. The hearing is being videotaped, video and audio tape. Therefore, when you address the board, begin by stating your name and address. Speak slowly, audibly, and clearly. Only one person will be allowed to speak at a time. The purpose of this hearing is for the board to hear and consider the pertinent facts relating to the application and to approve with conditions or deny. Before hearing from the public, the applicant will be allowed to present a case, and then the board members shall ask questions or comments. If board members have any interest in this property or issue to stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing?
No.
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 No. Okay. The public notice for this application was posted in the town hall, sent to a certified list of parties in interest, and published in the town common on November 1st and November 8th, 2017, and reads as follows. A public hearing will be held at the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, on Thursday, November 16th, 2017, at 7:40 p.m. to act on an application received October 16th, 2017, from Timothy R. Collier. The applicant is seeking a variance from the requirements of Mass General Laws 40A, Section 10, for the construction of a barn for the purpose of personal storage. The property is located at 30 East Ocean Avenue in the outlying district and is shown on the Assessor's Map 27, Lot 113. At the public hearing, members of the public may ask questions and present evidence that supports either approval or denial of the petition. Applications of the Raleigh Board of Appeals. Timothy R. Collier, 2 Dayton Road, Lynn, Mass. 01934. He is prospective purchaser of the property. He's asking for a variance in the requirements of Chapter 48, Section 10. Raleigh Assessors Map number 27, Lot 113. Registry of Deeds Book 4154, page 105. Description of the proposed work and or use, construction of a barn 44 by 30 for the purpose of personal boat storage. The reason for this application is the 50-foot setback requirement be met on Ocean Street side due to wetlands and property, on property. Dated October 10th, 2017, by Timothy Collier. We have permit and license clearance form. It's been signed off by the Treasury Department, Lake Department, Water Department. The parties and interest form completed. I have a picture of the site. Parties and interest map. And a description of the building that wants to build. So we have all that. And we have the plot plan showing what he wants to do. Okay, Mr. Collier?
Yes. My name is Philip Collier. Back in July, I signed a purchase and sales agreement.
Come forward.
Okay. I signed a purchase and sales agreement for purchase of 32 Ocean Avenue for the purposes of constructing a barn on that location for the storage of my boats. I have 2 boats, and basically what it is. On the, for the 50-foot setback from the railroad street, I can meet that, but the 50-foot setback from the Ocean Street side, I can't meet. And just for clarification, I was just pointed out to me that the doors would be facing the Ocean Street side. I think it says on the map, it says west, but that's a typo.
Okay. Okay, is this where it's gonna be, come show me
Yes.
on the map? This was the building?
Yeah, right.
This is the building here.
Right, so basically to meet the requirements of at least one of the setbacks from the railroad street side, I'd be able to meet that, but from the Ocean Street side, because of the 25-foot buffer zone between the building and the flag wetland, this is as far back as I can get it. And I do also want to notify that this corner of the thing was actually, this corner of this lot is actually paved over. So the part of the street is actually the property owners. Yes.
You say you got 2 boats, what size are they?
18, but they're on trailers, so, I mean, it's 27 with the trailers and the outboard motors on.
Okay, so your garage door is gonna be on this side here.
Yeah, the doors will be facing on the Ocean Street side of the property.
And you want the variance
From the Ocean Street side, I can meet that on the Railroad Street side. And this is basically because of the buffer zone. Had it not been for the observance of the buffer zone, I'll be able to go back far enough to actually probably meet that side as well.
but you meet it from here,
Yes,
to
from the
there.
railroad to that side of the building, yes.
Okay, but this is the final building.
Yeah.
That's the final, so that's why you want the variance from here.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't indicate, if there's gonna be, where the doors are going to be, if there's gonna be any paving or driveway, what's that surface gonna be in there?
Well, I mean, it's just hard enough that I can get my boats in there, whether it's a hard pack or paved, just in the front area right here. Leave that all wooded over there on the right-hand side. I just want it paved enough so that I can back my boats into and store them.
It's a big hole right there, isn't it?
It is a big hole.
It's a big hole, but
Yeah.
right there,
There's a couple piles that are on the property, that I spoke with the Conservation Commission, and they advised me that before anything could be done on the property, that the piles would have to be removed. And there's some other debris on the property that would have to be moved as well, so. But, one of my first stops was to the Conservation Board, to get an idea. He told me to get the property flagged for the wetlands. I did that, then I got the property surveyed from that point on, and then it was a determination of where I could actually fit the building. And this is the location that would fit in.
how far down the avenue is?
I think this is, the scale on this is, I think it's 156 feet, so if that's 75 feet, that's probably around 60 feet from the
Okay,
floor.
you say this is,
The scale is 60 feet per inch, I believe that's 1 inch equals 30 feet.
Which one are you looking at? That you're concerned about?
I was wondering how far down from this corner he was gonna be.
Well, yeah, no, it looks like it would be
He's not right.
55.
He's not right on the corner, that's.
No, he's at least, he's right on the edge here. and he's got 50 feet to here. But this is where the Ocean Ave side is where the setback issue
Yeah.
exists. But there's a lot of area in here. This would appear to be about 1,000 square feet in the front of the building. Paving would be, I mean, that makes it an impervious surface, and between the building, which is 1,400, almost 1,500, and that would make it almost 2,500 square feet were you to pave it. And he only got a 16,000 square foot lot, so he's got about 18 to 20% almost of an impervious lot were to do that. I don't know if we can get that much. That, if you were to do all that on that lot, if you can have that much on the lot, is there an issue about total amount of impervious coverage you can have in a lot? Or are we considering also, I mean, we have something in the bylaw, we have to look at that. That's if you pave it. If you just put stone there, it's not
I can,
impervious.
yes, I'm not opposed to
Is it too
stone.
gravel?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. This wouldn't be a building that was used every day.
Oh, you don't note the height of the building.
Yeah,
35 feet.
It's what?
35 feet?
Where does it say that? Okay.
Building height 35 feet maximum?
That's the maximum.
That ain't what you're
I think
proposing?
the building height was.
That's probably ours, right?
That's the maximum height of this building.
Someone say that?
I believe it was less than 20.
Is this prefab building?
It's a pole barn, yeah, yes, prefab. Yeah.
That's the height.
I don't see any statement about it. And the drawings,
I don't see nothing for height there.
the drawings appear to be candidly what I think are an online device that allows
Yeah,
you to go on and just go in.
No, I actually,
Somebody produced that?
no, yeah, I paid for that, that was $1,000. The height was under 30 feet, it was, I know that it was 20, I believe it was 22 feet.
That's the one.
Well, we would certainly, that's one other fact we would
Yeah,
need to say.
and I had spoken with the building inspector in, prior to this, and just to make sure that I was.
Well within that.
Well within that, and it wasn't even close.
No, that's fine, it's just
Yep.
there's nothing here that says that.
Absolutely, that's all.
Alright, well, what other?
Those are construction fees.
Yeah, right, those are all just physical dimensions,
For 3 days.
right?
Yeah.
And 2 loads, 3 days.
3 days, yes.
For future boat, or
But what's that?
what's the 3rd day for?
Well,
You said you're storing 2
I had
days.
kayaks, yeah.
Oh, so
Kayaks,
non-motor boats.
yeah. No,
There's no water available here, right? There's no,
that's just, it's
just
all
curious what your
water.
plan was to,
Well,
you're taking them out to the ocean and
yeah,
then
I
you're
take-
gonna
I-
wash your,
Oh, I take
motors.
them, I go off Pearlies.
Oh,
I
and
get my
then you
boat
clean them.
service at Pearlies, and I go off Pearlies, yeah.
Is there any talk about bathrooms or
No, there is no water on site, no, this is strictly storage. And
is it
it's
gonna have electricity or no?
electricity, yes, yep, for lighting, that's,
No heat?
no heat.
Okay.
I believe that the lot was originally considered for a building lot, but the septic system would take up the majority of the lot, so it'd no longer be possible to put a building on it. You have to,
What are your lighting plans? I mean, neighbors don't wanna see lights.
The only lights you, the only windows on the property would be on the second floor, on that, this top area right here.
Outdoor lighting though?
Outdoor lighting is what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
outdoor
no
lighting?
windows.
Yeah, I haven't even considered that actually, so it's not, I'm open to suggestions on that.
And this is strictly for you, it's not,
No, it's for me, yeah, for my own personal use. Yep.
so you have no problem saying to keep it personal, no commercial?
No, it's personal, yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a couple of letters here. One from the fire department is, the Raleigh Fire Department has received the above mentioned application and has the following comments. What type of storage in the building is proposed? Will there be any living spaces, separate rooms in the structure? Will there be utilities for the building? Once the department has these questions answered, will be able to further comment on this application. The department will make itself available to the board to discuss any involved comments that the department has on this project. And Lisa has received a email from Chief Bartlett. Says if the boat is the only thing being stored and it is just a garage with only electric in it, the fire department will have no further comment. In the event it is going to be more involved in boat storage, the applicant should come to the station and talk with it. Okay? That's that letter. Then we have a letter from the health department. And
Petition 3.
the application of 32 Ocean Avenue has been reviewed. A review of the file shows that a septic system cannot be sited on the property. Therefore, no habitation and no bathrooms or sinks is allowed in the building. If this is a commercial use, other requirements such as floor drains may be required. All right.
Can I ask one question, John? Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it gonna be, is this one open room?
Yes, all up, the bottom floor is where the boat storage, then there's more storage up above.
Oh, there's 2 floors.
Yeah, yep.
And how high is the ceiling again now? The roof?
I think the height of the, total height of the building was 22 feet. So there's a room up above for more storage for fishing equipment, my fishing stuff. I tried to soften the look of the building to go with the neighborhood. I didn't want to put a commercial looking building in there. I wanted to make it look more like a barn.
No room outside for boats to be outside?
No.
Okay. Okay, the Board of Selectmen has reviewed the application at their meeting last night. One comment was given that this lot does not have a house on it. They would like the ZBA to make sure the barn is only used for personal storage and not used to run a business. Okay.
Next one.
Then we have a letter from Daniel Boisevert. I'm a resident direct abutter living at 28 Ocean Avenue. I have listed below a few of the concerns that I have with the proposed use of the block plan in case number 1807. The proposed barn seems like a large investment for dry storage for personal boats only, 44 by 34. I find it hard to believe that a building of this size is going to be used solely for the purpose of garaging its personal boat for dry storage only. I live in a quiet street and don't want to come home after work with some guy working on his boats with the doors wide open and a floodlight lighting up my house and driveway. What is stopping the new property owner from storing multiple boats inside and out, thus turning it into a business? We already have Pearl's Boatyard, we don't need another. Personally, I believe this will end up as boat storage on a large scale because of the investment. Many cars with trailers will be a hazard as you round the corner from Railroad Avenue, and there's a boat trailer waiting to park on the lot. I'm concerned a tight tank will be installed and you won't need a septic system. I can just have it emptied every couple of months, and now turn his barn into a dwelling with water and a business where he runs outboard engines for winterizing once he has permission. Boats leak oil from out drives and outboards. Will a stormwater permit be needed? How close will you be able to park boats next to the wetlands? Years down the road, how many boats can I expect to see on that lot, since it is for personal use only? Will I be living next to a boatyard in a couple of years? This property is located on a tight turn. Is the driveway going to be visible to drivers? I want to get my questions in writing and on the record for the board members for Thursday night board meeting. Thank you for consideration. Dan Hoiberg, concerned resident. I have another letter here from the planning board. And I've reviewed the materials with ZBA case number 1807 for a variance pertaining to construction of a barn 34 to 44, 1,496 square feet, for personal boat storage on the property located 32 Ocean Avenue. The proposed barn for personal boat storage is intended to serve as a primary use for the property. The lot is located at the intersection of Ocean Avenue and Railroad Avenue. It is in a well-established residential neighborhood. It is not stated in the submittal materials what the variance request is for, but considering that the required front setback on the outlying zoning district is 50 feet and the proposed setback is half that, I would presume the reason for the variance is for the front setback. The ZBA should get confirmation from the building inspector that the boat storage use is permissible as a sole use without there being a primary residential dwelling. This request being a variance as opposed to a special permit constrains the ZBA to considering only approval criteria with respect to approval of variances as stipulated in Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 10. Thus, the ZBA cannot impose conditions that would mitigate potential impacts on the proposed boat storage barn in regards to effect on abutting property values. In that regard, if the ZBA turns out to be amenable for granting a variance request, the ZBA may also want to request that the applicant, for the sake of being a good neighbor, consider planting, screening, vegetation, or even to consider revising barn architecture to include siding currently appears to be a metal siding building, which is compatible to the character of other structures in the surrounding neighborhood, and to include addition windows and more appealing bay doors. These would not be imposed as conditions, rather the ZBA should request the applicant consider some design improvements that would mitigate impacts in the neighboring residential dwellings. The ZBA may also want to confirm the need for 3 bays in the proposed barn, whether the size of the structure is needed for private owner boat storage. I note this because the potential for a larger structure being used for commercial rental storage or commercial uses involving both maintenance, construction, or repair, which would be prohibited in a residential use zoning district. Also, the ZBA should confirm the proposed height of the proposed barn to ensure it does not exceed the 35-foot height limit requirements, which is effective in all zoning districts. Thank you for your opportunity to comment. I'd be happy to review a follow-up submittal if the ZBA needs to do so. And finally, I have a letter here from Beth Baislick, Conservation Agent, case number 1807, application for a variance at 32 Ocean Avenue, map 27, lot parcel 113, Timothy Collier, owned Alexander Barrowley. The Conservation Department has reviewed the submittal to the Zoning Board of Appeals and has discussions with the applicant regarding the proposal to construct a 34 by 44 garage on unoccupied storage building. The Conservation Office has public records regarding this property dating from April 22nd, 2003, when soil elevations were allowed under an issued request to determine applicability. Negative option number 3, the stipulations that debris, pile, dump soil, or fill be removed from the site. Almost the entire state is jurisdictional under the State Wetlands Protection Act and the town's Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The following comments are offered for consideration. The property contains the following regulated wetland resource area: 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and bordering vegetated wetlands. The final approved plan on file April 2003 with the Conservation Office documents unpermitted filing but dumped piles of soil that were to be removed. Removal of those piles appears to have never commenced. The applicant has not yet submitted an application to the Raleigh Concom, but further discussions alerted Mr. Collier to the anticipated requirements for removal of those piles and revegetation of the impacted areas. The plan submitted to the ZBA with this application proposes the creation of a 25-foot post-development, no cut, no disturbance zone. That impacts the placement of the proposed storage building at the rear western corner. While the Conservation Commission has not had an official submittal from the applicant about the placement of the structure, it should be noted that a possibility exists to vary the width of the post and C, D, and Z of the western corner of the structure, which may allow a further setback distance from the street by approximately 5 feet, given a take-a-foot. The ZBA may wish to consider that impacted wetland resources areas have the potential to be restored with a proposed development that involves this applicant's proposal. The Conservation Department appropriately defers to the ZBA regarding their judgment if the structure setback from the public way might diminish the neighborhood. Okay. Now, I said at the beginning that everybody would have a chance to talk. So, Mr. Grunstrom.
Yeah, my name is Johnny, alias Jack Grunstrom. I live at 58 Railroad Avenue, which is directly across the Railroad Avenue from this lot. I have two deep concerns about this project. There is a year-round, fast-running spring in that lot that creates a brook that runs directly out to the Raleigh River. Anything, especially gas, oil, any of that, and storage stuff, is going to run right into that brook and run out to the Raleigh River, which I don't want to see. My second concern hinges on is that I was on the original Conservation Commission back in the 1960s, and a gentleman came in and was looking for a variance to put a little workshop on the edge of a similar type brook. There would never be a bathroom there would never be this, there would never be that, there would never be other thing. As we know, we can't tell future boards what to do. At this point in time, it's a big, probably quarter to a half acre hot top lot with a house on it with at least one bathroom, maybe two, and many machines in the yard that handle gas and oil that I'm sure run into the Rowley River, which certainly hurts our problem on the river being closed due to contamination. So I am very much against this because of that. It's a year-round, fast-running spring in the lot that creates the brook.
Anyone else? Pro, con, makes no difference.
Very good.
Yeah, well, my name is Dan Boisvert. I'm a resident and direct abutter located at 28 Ocean Ave. You already stated some of the concerns I have with the letter. I'd also like to add that that area has a very high water table, and during the spring, it really starts flowing down to the sides, and I'm concerned about the effects that this building might have on that in regards to affecting my property, and everything else stated in the letter I sent is pretty much it. But I'm strongly against it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Diane Short, 21 Ocean, and I've lived there 60 years or so, so I know that lot very well. Having played there when I was a kid. It's hard for me to believe that a building could even be built there, because it's so wet. There's streams, if I can remember correctly, two sides. Yeah. From the fire hydrant. Yeah, it's just, I'm concerned the same way that brook is, it's like a Y shape, it comes down.
Deborah Grunstrom, 58 Railroad Ave. I'm concerned that it could become a slippery slope as to, there's a building there, but then what else is coming after that? You know, is it gonna be two boats there and then maybe a friend's boat or a couple other boats? What's the consequence if all of a sudden there's 6 boats on there, or there's 6 boats lined up along the stream? Or what about the oil and the gas from the boats, even if there's just 2? That's just my concern. And once again, I grew up there, and it's been there for, well, my 65 years, and I just can't believe there's going to be something built on the lot. And I hope there isn't, but anyway.
Roland St. Jake's, 48 Railroad Ave. I'm not directly across the street, but that lot has 2 waterways that get to it, one by the fire hydrant and one by the stream, and it also has no bathroom, so where's he gonna go to the bathroom when he's in the building? I think he really has to do something about that part. Thanks.
I want to clarify something, man. I'm not living here. This is storage only, and as stated before, it's for personal use only. Comment about the tight corner over there. That street was paved over without the consent of the current owner of that property. So that's a concern, something that people should consider. But the fact that people keep bringing up the fact that somebody's going to live there. I don't live there. I have a home in Topsfield. I don't run a business. I'm a full-time fire chief in the city of Lynn. So, for clarification purposes, it's for storage only. Storage only. That's what its stated goal was, and that's what I put on the paper, and that's what it's for. For my own use, that's all.
Jack Grunstrom again. I'm fully aware that he doesn't live there. I'm fully aware that he probably won't even be there 3 years from now, like most people. My family's been on that street for over 100 years. We've watched people come and go, do things that you could do back then that you probably can't do now. However, he knows what's happening right now. He has no idea what's going to be happening 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I have a great-grandchild living on my property. He'll probably be here 50 years from now. And he can have all of garbage running down into that brook, and that's my big concern.
So from the standpoint of pollution, as far as that's concerned, any garage that houses an automobile has the same amount of gas that's in that tank as a 70 horsepower motor would have. Same concerns as well, from a fighting standpoint. As far as what the lot is being used for now is dumping. You go over there, people will dump in their grass clippings and their and other stuff, and when I go over and looked at it, I understand that's the current use right now.
And that use right now is fine. That lot for years, it's so wet, and it grows so many skunk cabbages that it was always called Skunk Hollow. And as you fill that in, you'll lose that, what we consider a good thing, not a bad thing.
I'm Diane Smith, and the property is part of my mother's Clarendon Barrowways estate. And I have walked that land. I have gone in there and cut back bushes and vines. There is not skunk cabbage everywhere. There is people on Railroad Avenue and on Ocean Avenue have dumped debris, branches, trees, garbage bags with leaves and other trash on that lot. This, I think, would clean it up, and I think people also on Railroad Avenue have initially attempted to buy that property at an earlier date. So it just boggles my mind that now there's, these are objections. And I think also there's a drain, a street, what do you call it? A catch basin that also drains onto that property, which causes some of the issues with the water in the spring. And that's on the Railroad Avenue side.
Alex Barroway owned that property for years, and because I would keep an eye on it for him so that nobody would dump anything that was hazardous on there, he said any fill I had, like trees, branches, leaves, whatever, to fill the thing would be fine by him. As long as I kept an eye on the property, made sure nobody come in there putting bad stuff in. And as far as the catch basin goes, the catch basin comes down from Railroad Avenue and then out in the stream that this spring creates. It doesn't back up on the lot. Water reaches its own level, it never flows uphill, always down.
As far as the wetlands are concerned, the wetlands were flagged. They were flagged within the last 3 months by a wetlands engineer. So they're clearly marked on the map. And you were asking, I think somebody was asking about the height of the building. It's actually in one of the drawings. It's 20 feet.
Okay. Any other comments? Any questions from the board?
One question for Mr. Collier.
Yes.
There certainly appeared to be, by my own recent observation, and those of you who reside there could confirm, topographically there's a big depression on the piece of property. My assumption was that you were going to bring that lot up to street level in order to do the building, which would mean you'd have to put a lot of fill in there. Is that the intent, and how do you intend to address that? Or is the intent just to clear it and try to put the building down where it is?
Well, I had spoken with the Conservation Commission regarding that, and they told me at the time that those piles had to be removed, but they didn't have to be removed from the lot themselves, that they could be spread out in the area as long as it's not within the 25-foot buffer zone. That was the recommendation at that point. Obviously, I would go through the Concom to make sure that whatever was done there was to their liking.
Are you gonna be the GC, or are you gonna have somebody do it?
No, well, I mean, I would get somebody to clear the lot and, yeah.
Thoughts?
Any further comments?
I think the planning board, I think Kirk brings up a relevant point. I think a lot of these points about concerns regarding the use of the building are nullified a little bit by the fact that there are, we all have garages and we all house automobiles in them, and most of them have concrete floors. I assume this would have a concrete floor, and few of us are concerned about any sort of oil spills, messes, or drops that we get from automobiles that have 25-gallon tanks in them, and we have multiple automobiles, and we keep all kinds of stuff in them. So I'm less concerned about those components of potential hazardous waste. Presence of the water is an ongoing issue, but it seems to me that the planning board's point here that he mentions is we're going to end up with a building of this sort, whether it's your building or anybody else's building. It's essentially a garage, and we're going to end up with a lot in a residential area that is just a garage, just a physical structure. We have a couple other spots in the town where those kinds of events have occurred in residential areas where a structure that was purely for storage purposes was built. The principal use in the outlying district is not for storage of anything. It's a residential use. And we do allow in all districts accessory uses to principal uses, but the principal use here is absent. There is no principal use. This is really an accessory use. So I think in addition to the variance issues, and Bob, you're right, I think if we're granting a variance, it's under the conditions which we're allowed to grant a variance under Section 40, under General Law 40, Section 10, which does allow us to take into topography and does allow us to put conditions on it. So I think we're well within our room to do it, but I'm concerned that even though we do that we're jeopardizing, putting in a use, we're creating a use of a lot that could change in the future. I mean, we can put restrictions on it, and we can tie it, and we can create restrictions on a decision so that when your grandchild comes here and all of us are long gone, somebody can say, wait a minute, you're not allowed to do that. And we've seen that happen before with other properties, and we've seen it brought by a butter successfully, and conditions have been put back to where they were supposed to be. I'm less concerned with the fact that there are a lot of things, Mr. Grunstrom, as you well know, that are going in this town that aren't actually permitted or granted, but I think we can address that. I still think the issue is, do we want to allow the creation of a use which is I'm not going to call it commercial because he's not commercial, he's not, we can restrict the potential use to it becoming a business, and we can put those kind of constraints, and you all live there, so you're going to see, and I'm assuming that you would see, but I'm still concerned about whether or not we want to go and change the nature of things.
Yeah, I think that's the concern that was raised by, is it the planning board who suggested we get the opinion from the inspector of buildings as to whether or not as a use.
Can I jump in here, excuse me?
No.
1 second?
Not till I'm done.
Okay.
I think we need to find out from the building inspector whether or not Tom's issue, which is not just Tom's issue, but I think the planning board's issue, as to whether or not that use, which is normally an accessory use, can be a primary use. I haven't had a chance to try to research it myself, but I think it is the first issue, because if it turns out that that's an allowable use, then anybody could use it for that, and you're not talking about what you can do, you're simply talking about how far back from the street you can do it. So, let's find out, let's get an official, I would like to get an opinion from the inspector of buildings, the zoning enforcement officer, as to whether what is normally an accessory use can in this instance be considered an allowable use without a primary building there, or what's normally a primary building. Now, maybe if somebody already knows that answer, I just haven't had a chance to look at it. We don't need the building inspector's opinion, but.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I feel the size of the building is of a commercial building size for the footprint that it takes. For 2 boats.
For clarification, before I spent a dime on this property, I went to the city planner, the town planner, and I sat down and I told him what my plans were. We spoke at length about what I could do and what I couldn't do. He researched it. He brought me into the building inspector's office. We talked to him about it, and he said he had no problem with it. Just want that to be on the record.
Okay, but we don't have that.
I understand that.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just telling you
Okay,
that that's...
well then what we'll get, assuming that you're absolutely correct,
Right.
is we'll get confirmation of what you just said.
Right.
And just a quick footnote to the point about your size. In the town of Raleigh, we're all allowed to do up to 1,500 square feet. He's well within what the right is. So whether you and I think it's commercial or not, if it's within a certain square footage, what it is, our definition of it, by our perception of it, is not what is the binding fact, it's the size. So that's why I have a feeling this stops at under 1,500 square feet.
Does that count for the second story?
That's what I was just gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah, it's the
That's
footprint, it's the
the
footprint. It's
is
the
15,
footprint.
less than 15.
Yeah. The height limitation is the other variable. You can't go higher than 35 feet anywhere. So he appears to be well within that sizing. And it's a big building, no question about it. I mean, there are a lot of houses in town which don't have a 30 by 50 footprint, because that would make them typically a 3,000 square foot house. We know there are a lot of houses in this town that are under 3,000 square feet. So I agree, it's not a small structure.
It's bigger than most of the houses.
But, I personally, if you want to keep boats, or you want to keep cars, or you want to keep trucks, or you want to keep trailers, or you want to keep tractors, the more space you have, the better to do whatever you want to do. He has smaller boats, that's his business. Does he want to get a bigger boat? That's his business. I still think the issues here relate to whether or not what looks to me like a incidental use, and by our bylaws doesn't expressly allow it as a principal use, becomes a violation. Now, I'm notwithstanding what you were told, I'm just saying we're gonna have to be bound by our interpretation of law. So we're gonna have to get Ken to give us a statement in writing that that's the case, and that's what we would have to hang our hat on if he allows it as a principal use in where our bylaw doesn't allow it, as far as I read the bylaw.
Well, that's a starting point. In other words, we get Ken's opinion, then we make the decision
We
about
make a
whether it's
call.
allowable or not, but we need we gotta have his input.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you be agreeable to a smaller building?
It doesn't serve the purposes of width is not the issue, it's the depth. And the depth is I can't get my boat in my trailer, in and out of that building without extreme cost. I mean, it's tough enough to try to back it into a structure, but
Do you need a second story?
it's storage, it's for everything I got boat related, so that's.
What's the height of the ceiling on the first floor?
10 feet.
And what's the height of the second floor?
The total building is 20 feet.
I understand that, but what's the height of the second story?
Well,
What's the height of that second floor?
7 feet, 7 or 8
So
feet.
you're not gonna have much of a pitch on that building?
No, it is what it is in the drawing, that's what I'm showing.
What happened, just a question here. In, well, good luck to you, but in 50 years when we're gone,
Me too.
what do we do with this building? What does this building turn into?
Well, that'll- as he says, that'll happen before that time for all of us, except for a few of you perhaps.
If you're gonna ask that of this applicant, you have to
Yes,
ask it of
yeah,
everybody.
right.
And I don't know that you can.
Why can't I? What do you think, do?
Okay.
Just a question.
Well, I think it goes to use. I think that goes to the use in the area because it would portend that vacant lots of any size in any district could have as a principal use essentially the construction of structures which don't serve in a residential manner, won't serve in a residential manner, and the bylaws as they're written are not designed to encourage that kind of development in the town. That doesn't mean it can't happen, doesn't mean it hasn't happened, doesn't mean that, lower the feet, I mean, if we decided we felt like it was a use, but we don't like the building, would you lower the building to 1,100 square feet and drop the second story? Could you still put 2 boats? These sound like outboards,
Yeah, they're upwards, yeah.
and they're 18-foot boats.
And I went out of my way, like I said, the design of the barn itself was to be as classic as possible. It's a pole barn. It's not if you want to look up some of the other options as far as storage concerned, buildings are concerned, they're very commercial looking. And like I said, I don't mind softening it up with windows, a window in the front, and even a cupola on the top, if that's what the issue is. I mean,
Is it a metal building? I'm sorry.
The metal siding.
Okay. Well, I think we have to get the use issue before we go anywhere.
Okay, so shall we continue this?
I think we have to.
Okay. We have a motion to continue this here.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we're gonna continue this to next month.
What's the date, please?
21st of December.
So you need a vote on the motion.
Yes.
Okay. Motion's been made, seconded?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll continue this to December 21st.
We will reach out to the building inspector and get him to provide us a statement.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.